Thanks for staying with us. Like we told you earlier, the coronavirus pandemic has taken a huge toll on economies in many parts of the world. And in the United States, the President Donald Trump wants to get things up and running as quickly as possible. On Thursday, he proposed guidelines under which state governors could act to revive the economy from its COVID-19 shutdown in a staggered three process. Our Washington correspondent, Maria Bird, has the report. Yet. Well, let's talk some more about this. We're being joined by the Chief Executive Officer of Cowry Assets Limited, Mr. Johnson Chukwu. He joins us from Lagos. Mr. Chukwu, thanks for joining us on the program. The global economy has taken a huge hit because of COVID-19. For a country like Nigeria, how much longer can we stomach the impact before we begin recovery?
Thank you, Amarati, for having me. I think for our country, we are yet to get to a point where we can begin to hazard a guess on when we can actually restore economic activities. The simple reason that we are just setting up our testing capabilities, and we've not gotten to a point where we can say the rate of infection is plateauing or flattening. So it's actually when you get to that point when you are saying, look, on a daily basis, the number of infected cases that you come across are lower. If you observe, we just began to see consistent increase in the number of infections that are reported. 2 days ago, we had 34 infected persons that were reported by NCDC, and yesterday we had 35, which are additionally increased. So most countries are reopening the economy only when they have gotten to a point when they can say that the rate of infection is plateauing or flattening. And I don't think we've gotten to that. I'm hoping that the next 2 weeks that the president extended, we'll get to that point where we can actually say, one, we can reasonably guess the rate of infection of the community transmission we're witnessing today, and that we now have a hang on the number of those infected, and they are either self-isolating or have been quarantined in the infectious disease centers or any of those coronavirus centers. That's when the economy can be in a position to reopen. Otherwise, we could have a more severe rate of infection if you open the economy at a point when your rate of infection has not flattened.
Well, let's look at countries like the United States. The United States is considering reopening their economies. Even in Spain, where the death toll has been rising, some parts of the economy are being reopened. Is this a smart move?
Well, for a country like U.S., President Donald Trump came up with a three-pronged approach to reopen the U.S. economy. As it stands today, not all the U.S. states were seriously affected. And I think about 19 to 20 states may be in the position to reopen, to start reopening by 1st of May. The basic thing is that you have to look at your rate of infection and determine whether you are having an increase in rate of infection or you are seeing a decrease in rate of infection. Countries like Spain was greatly affected. Spain was had the third largest fatality in the world. After US, Italy, you have Spain, and then you have France. Spain was the third most impacted in terms of fatality. But they are beginning to think of reopening the economy because they are also seeing a plateauing in the rate of infection. They can reasonably say, look, statistically, this is the percentage of our population that are infected based on the rate of tests they are carrying out. Some of these European countries are doing as much as 10,000 tests in a day. And I think at the best we are planning to do is like 1,500 in a day. It's only when you get to that point that you talk of reopening. If you look at other countries in Europe that want to reopen, Denmark has actually started reopening the kindergarten schools and the primary schools this week. And Germany is planning to start reopening the economy from Monday, the 20th of April. Similarly, UK is contemplating when they can start reopening the economy. But the key thing in these countries, the rate of infection has plateaued, and we are seeing flattening or declining rate of infection. And they can reasonably isolate those who are infected and make sure that they don't infect other people.
Chukwu, just very quickly, what's your advice to the average Nigerian going forward in coping with the economy then?
My advice to the average Nigerian is that we need to restructure our expenditure, our domestic expenditure, and our most importantly, we need to prioritize and focus on all those critical consumptions. As at now, we need to leave out consumption or expenditure on luxuries because the reality is that virtually the world economy is going to see some shrinkage. I just published the first quarter GDP would have shrunk by 6.8%. That's the first time the first quarter GDP in China is shrinking since 1992. The Eurozone is expected to shrink by 10%. So there's no way. IMF had actually projected the Nigerian economy will shrink by 3.4%, which should also be one of the largest shrinkage or contraction we've seen in recent history. So we should prepare ourselves that the economy is going to go through some difficulties, and people should reorder their apparatus in terms of their expenditure and consumption and focus only on the necessities so that they can conserve resources even when their revenues or incomes thin out or slow down.
Mr. Johnson Chukwu, Chief Executive Officer of Carry Assets Management, thank you so much for sharing your analysis and thoughts with us on The World Today.
My pleasure.